At our career spotlight, we are welcoming Brian Gould. He works in the dealership industry, comes to us through the University of Saskatchewan through the engineering program. He's going to share his career journey with us. Students that are watching, please try to fill in a survey after. It helps us with funding and also to improve these presentations. So with that, I will click to the screen and
Perfect. Well, as Troy said there, good day everybody. My name is Brian Gould. I'm a after-sales business manager for New Holland Agriculture. As Troy mentioned, I did go through the University of Saskatchewan College of Engineering with a focus on agricultural and bioresource engineering. I convocated from there in 2010 and immediately began work with New Holland Agriculture. I had actually started summer positions with New Holland while I was in university for 4 summers. Came on full-time immediately after university, was a after-sales business manager for 2010 to 2014. Upon that time, I did take on the regional after-sales manager for Western Canada for 2014 and 2015. So at that time, I was managing 5 guys that reported directly to me, and we looked after all of the New Holland agricultural dealerships from Manitoba to BC. And at that point in 2015, we did have a bit of a restructuring. The industry took a bit of a downturn, and I was put back into the field as a field service manager. So same job as an after sales business manager, just a different title from 2015 until present. All of my positions with the company have been based out of a home office. So I've always had the pleasure of working from home, even pre-COVID. So not too much change for me there. And I've been working within an assigned territory. Sometimes the territories do change, but typically have been based around, luckily for me, where I've been living. So it's usually been within about a 3 or 4 hour drive from my home office, would encompass all of my dealership positions around me. Some of my duties that I do perform in my job, the primary role or primary job for this role is to be ensuring customer satisfaction. The biggest thing when people ask what I do for a living is lots of times I just get yelled at by angry farmers, but that is a way for me to help strive for customer satisfaction, because usually when I get involved with them, it's because they've had an issue or a machine break down unexpectedly and they want to speak to somebody from the company. So they've been working with the dealership trying to get it resolved, hasn't been able to get it resolved, so they call me up to come out, listen to the customer, hear their complaints, give them a sounding board to vent their frustrations and feel like they've been heard by somebody within the company. I will take back those reports and findings and go to the engineering department, go to our diagnostic centers or our THD group, so technical help diagnostics, and we'll try to come up with a plan on how to fix their machine. Another part of it is ensuring that the dealerships are adequately trained and tooled to support the equipment that they sell. So I make sure that the dealership technicians have all gone to the proper schooling that we offer through CNH to ensure that they're trained on the proper product lines and have the proper diagnostic skills. With that, also too, some of the training that technicians have to go through is soft skills, such as customer service and dealing with frustrated customers. Because again, as a technician, their jobs typically involve going to a customer's yard when they are very upset. Some of the workspaces that I do, like I said, home office, in the field, working with big machinery, small machinery. I do go for anything from 4-wheel drives to combines, air seeders, even down to riding lawnmowers. So I can be dealing with, one day I can be working on a CR combine, the biggest combine in the world, and then the next day I could be working on a small riding lawnmower. This can be anything from using hand tools, mechanics tools, or the electronic service tool. As machines are getting more and more complex and more electronic, we do see the incorporation of powerful computers into these machines. So we do use computers to actually service and change out software code. So there could be days that I'm pulling wrenches, and there could be days that I'm actually physically rewriting software code in the combine computer to make it know what it needs to be doing. So we can have a great array of what I'll be doing day to day. Primarily in the home office, working with warranty concerns, customer concerns, trying to find information for dealerships is my primary workspace as the home office. Some likely unknown duties. I do have a policy budget that I do manage. So in that scenario, this is for situations where a failure has occurred on a customer's unit that happened just outside of the base warranty period. So it's no longer covered by standard warranty, but it's felt that this shouldn't have failed this quickly, or it was a manufacturing defect directly from factory. I can step in and help cover some of that cost for the customer. Again, it comes back to that customer satisfaction. The odd time I will haul parts between dealerships if I'm going that direction. It's just kind of a courtesy that I'll do for my dealers. And then one that I found, or I try to help out quite frequently with, just because it is my background, is assisting engineering with trying to resolve customer issues. The picture there below was actually a customer issue that the back end of the machine was plugging on a CR combine. Worked back and forth with engineering and a local dealership throughout the year to come up with a design that we felt worked in the actual field conditions. And we did field testing on probably about 16 or 17 units where we custom built these plates to try to come up with an accurate design and accurate resolution to the concern that we were seeing in the field. So those aren't typical duties, but it's something that I definitely try to step in and help out with, just because that's where I like to work and get my hands on and try to resolve those issues. Some of the main rewards for my position, the biggest one is work-life balance. Like I've said, I've worked from a home office my entire career, which has been amazing. I set my own schedule and come and go as I please. It's typically, with pre-COVID, was 2 days in the office, 3 days on the road driving. I'd be home every night for supper. I get to spend time at my house with my family, work in my yard. With that travel, I do get a company vehicle as well that is paid for by work. So any of my travel expenses are covered by work, including food and fuel. And a big one that doesn't happen a lot is the big thank you from a customer when they're happy and you do get something resolved. But it is a great reward when you're able to resolve that issue for that customer that's been having ongoing concerns for weeks upon weeks, and they've been struggling trying to get something fixed. And when you're able to come in, talk through it with the technician, talk through it with the customer, figure out what's going on and get it resolved, to me, that's a very rewarding feeling. That does come down to my personality. I've always enjoyed fixing things and getting to improve on things every day. Every day seems to be different. Not, like I said, not 2 days are the same. Working on combines, lawnmowers, engines, and it can be anything from software programming, as mentioned, to physically removing components with wrenches. So there's a vast array of what I do every day. And some days I don't do any of the technical stuff, and all I do is strictly warranty and policy processing and ensuring that dealers follow along onto the guidelines that are put in place by CNH. Some of the big challenges, as I've mentioned, have been typically when you are out with a customer, they are not happy to see you. They've had a failure that's caused them severe downtime, which usually is a financial cost to that customer, and they're not happy about it. So when I do get involved, it comes in after the fact something has gone wrong. Very seldom do I get to come into a situation where nothing has gone wrong and everybody's happy. But that is one of the challenges and a stressor, but it is also one of the challenges that I look forward to. I take pride in being able to walk into a situation, de-escalate the customer, and try to make everybody happy, come to a conclusion where all parties benefit. We can get the machine back up and running. But with that, you have to have, a lot of people say that I have to have fairly tough skin. But there's a lot of situations where the customer is very upset with not necessarily me as a person, but with the brand, with the product, with the situation. And all of that emotion tends to come out and be directed directly at me. So there is times where I have to be able to shake that off and just let it roll off your back, talk them through it, and try to come to a common understanding. With that, there is the high dollar financial decisions too. You can be making decisions for engine repairs, which can go up to $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. You can be making decisions on smaller things anywhere down to $500. So there is a vast majority of financial decisions that you're responsible for as well. So sometimes you have to do what's best for the customer, and sometimes you have to remember that you're also working for the company too, then you have to follow certain company policies. Sometimes those two things do not line up, which kind of ties back to the first, and you can end up with a very irate customer who's upset with you because you didn't want to pay for something that doesn't line up with company policy. So there's a lot of interaction there that is cyclical. You can get stuck in a loop quite often with certain situations, but you have to be able to stay calm and find a way to get out of that loop, break that cycle, and get to a common ground and resolution that everybody can deal with. Salary for the role typically can be $55,000 to $85,000 a year. We do have very good medical, dental, mental health support. One that stuck out to me was the pension program. We are a matching contribution with the company, so up to a certain percentage you participate, the company will match that participation, so you're basically getting double your money into your pension program, which is very well. For myself, for vacation, started out with just the standard Saskatchewan 3 weeks. I do know some coworkers of mine have negotiated for more upon starting. It all comes down to what you feel you find important when you're doing your negotiations at your hiring date. Some guys took a little lower salary, but they took greater vacation days. Some negotiation tactics there. My work hours are typically 8 to 5, but I can have situations in season that will change. Just the other day here, I put in a 15-hour day, but today there isn't too much going on outside, so it's going to be probably a slower day, and I'll have more time to catch up on emails, and it'll be a little lighter workload. In season, it can be very hectic in the seeding and harvest seasons, but then in the winter months or in the straight summer months, usually it's a little slower. So we do get a nice balance of work hours as well. Supports for the role. I find our company very progressive on training availability. There is, anytime a new product is launched, there's basic training that goes along with that for just the product enhancements, support. Anytime we launch a new tool, there's a very expansive online college that's available to us that can handle anything from soft skills as customer service to de-escalating tense situations to how to work with your coworkers, management training, and you can even get into technical type. I have found AutoCAD, computer 3D drafting training that's available in my company's internal training programs. So there can be a vast array of training that's available to you. We do have a full IT support team that looks after us, especially in the field, because everything we do at home, we have to be on the go all the time. We get cell phone provided with full support from IT, laptop provided, printer, computer monitors provided, everything we need to have our home office set up and working functioning. If we have any issues, we have a dedicated IT line as well as email support for those products and issues that we have. Opportunities for the ag industry is huge. It's one industry that we are constantly always going to be using and needing. Agriculture produces food. We always need food. It's constantly evolving. We're getting far more electronics put into machinery, and we're getting a far bigger focus onto precision farming. So reducing inputs, well, maximizing outputs. So everything we can to optimize the ag industry is resulting in a large technological shift in the industry as well. So we do need different roles that are arising to support specific areas. There's no longer a single person can look after the entire expanse of knowledge that these equipment use. You now have to have specialized individuals, say for the precision farming aspect, for the GPS, the auto guidance. We even have smart combines now that'll actually set their combine to maximize the throughput of the machine. So that takes a whole different avenue of support compared to a typical technician. So there's multiple different ways that you can go there. Within CNH, and my position specifically, I know that there has been a large amount of transition from my role. You can go straight up in the chain to regional. There's a director for a district, and then there's actually North American service. So there's multiple levels there that you can advance up. Within CNH, they do a large amount of lateral transition as well. So you can go from service to sales to product support to training to inside support. There's multiple different avenues within CNH as a company, but also within the ag industry itself. There's multiple different companies. There's short lines, there's major manufacturers, there's supporting companies such as some of the individual GPS groups. Raven, they are a different company, but they are specific to GPS components. So there's different organizations within the industry that you can transfer a lot of your skill sets from this industry through multiple organizations. You can also go into, if you want to go towards the technicians, the dealerships. There's going directly into sales at the dealership organization level, customer support in the technicians, or even GPS precision farming support. They kind of have those same avenues at the dealership locations themselves. As mentioned, work-life balance has been great for me. Typically 8 to 5 with some seasonality. Certain seasons you will be getting phone calls throughout the day. We do know that the ag industry doesn't like to sleep when it's good weather. If it's not raining in harvest, we're combining. So there is sometimes that you will get phone calls very late through the night. But the nice thing with the group that I work with, very accommodating for any type of vacation leave or holidays that I want to be booking. Any of my coworkers, I'll cover for them when they want to go. They'll cover for me whenever I want to go. So it works very well in that sense. Major holidays, we always get off. And the really nice thing with CNH actually is we have what we call the extended company-wide holiday between Christmas and New Year's. So every year I get the week off between Christmas and New Year's Day, no matter what. It's just a company-wide shutdown that they shut down all the plants worldwide and give everyone those days off to spend time with their family. Overtime is expected in season, but is not paid for. We are strictly salary. But as I mentioned, there is a trade-off in the slow season when the workload is light. So yes, you may be putting in more hours during season, but you might be putting in less hours in the off seasons as well. So you do get a bit of a trade-off there. And with that, if anybody has any questions, it's always great to hear them.
Thank you, Brian. That was very good. I quite enjoyed your presentation, and you laid everything out so nicely for students to follow along. It's very well done. I'm just wondering about the prospects for this position, if as a student looking into this career, coming out of agriculture, out of the ag program. Both my son and daughter took the program. My daughter's an agronomist and my son is coming through with his ag biz. But what's the prospect specifically in this line of work in agriculture?
For this specific line, I can say that I've got coworkers that have backgrounds that range from One coworker was a service technician at a dealership and has worked his way up and decided he wanted to come work for the company. I've got a coworker that did agriculture business, or actually he was even just a straight business major. He came in from that end. I came in on more of the technical side through agricultural engineering. A couple other coworkers have the agronomy background. And it's, as long as you're interested in the field and you've got some of that agricultural background, even not any actually, I've got a couple coworkers that don't have any agricultural background, but they're just interested in the field, and it's primarily conflict resolution, working through situations, managing information, and finding ways to get people in touch with the right people. The prospects right now are looking very good. The ag industry is on a bit of a rebound right now. We have been in a bit of a low for the last few years, and the ag industry is pretty cyclical. About every 7 to 8 years, we'll see a peak and a valley of the ag sales. And right now, we're just actually starting to come back out of that valley, and we're starting to see that climb back into a peak right now. So the outlook is looking very good in the ag industry right now.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, it sounds like New Holland has a lot of options for students to get into different, like you said, different portions of that company. So.
Yes.
It was really good just to hear, or give students the opportunity to hear about more variety in the ag industry, right? They always think farmer or elevator guy. That's it.
and that's where it came from me. I actually grew up on a farm. I farmed for my first year of university with my father, and I had the discussion with him of, okay, do I go into farming full time? Do I not? And this was a very good balance for me of being able to go into the ag industry, but something different than farming, something different than that just provided a little different avenue, especially for me with my technical interests and technical background that I really wanted to focus on, and being able to support customers and people. My dad's a salesman, so naturally he talked a lot, and I've learned to talk a fair bit as well through that to be able to converse with customers fairly easily. So it provided a really good balance for me of being able to stay in the ag industry, have some technical experience with it, but then also be able to keep that human side and that customer interaction.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I don't know, Renette, if you have any other questions that came to mind.
No, your presentation was very well done, and I'm trying to think here, but I think you've answered all of the questions I would be asking, so thank you.
Perfect.
I guess maybe just a sort of a heads up to students of how they got in, how you get into the summer programs. Does New Holland go to the career fairs, or do they have to sort of cold call?
Yeah, for myself, it was actually a career fair on campus, the University of Saskatchewan career fair that I was at, and they had multiple summer intern positions. They do have multiple positions as well available. My first position was actually with field service, but I did 4 summer positions. 2 of them were with field service, and 2 of them were actually with the marketing group. So there is a lot of leeway there too, of if you want to be in that industry, don't stay stuck specifically on one role. Like I said, I went into a marketing role, not something that I was trained in, not something that I was ever even thought I'd be remotely interested in. But going into that role, I found a very niche market kind of for myself of being able to apply a large portion of technical knowledge into the marketing literature. So that actually brought a lot of value into that role and kind of made myself stand out a little bit in that role as well too. So there's ways you can incorporate yourself into the industry in not typical roles that you would expect.
Thank you for drawing that attention, Troy. I guess I knew that answer because both my kids have come through that hiring ag fair that the U of S has, but for students, they may not have known that. So thank you so much for explaining that process.
All right, so thanks again, Brian. And I guess with that, we will conclude this session.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.